Okay, so greetings, it's Mike's and Gracie from livemyassoff.com. Look at how cool that guy is. There was a guy, so they wear these like pretty amazing outfits, right? I don't know if you can see that guy. And he kind of looks like he works at Disney. But the other guy, when we were coming out one morning, I said, oh dude, that's a really cool outfit. He's like, oh yeah, I've been wearing this for 42 years. I'm like, that's a pretty good commitment. So anyway, we are headed taking, I don't know if you can see it yet, we're gonna be taking a trolley that is coming up here, or cable car, sorry, all the way up this hill to the, basically Embarcadero. We're gonna cruise down to the water, grab some breakfast. It's about 9 o'clock. We're checking out of Francis Drake at about 1 o'clock, I think, and then BART over to the airport and then back to San Diego. So, the Sir Francis Drake, I would recommend it. Just be aware that the 20th floor, which is where the suites are, is below the 21st floor. And the 21st floor is where the Starlight Lounge is. Starlight Lounge. And Starlight Lounge on Tuesday nights has Jazz Night, which is noisier than last night, which was Wednesday night. And last night, I didn't even know it was there. So that was awesome. I also want to, I do want to acknowledge the fact that based on my public disappointment on social media with Sir Francis Drake and them giving me the most expensive room underneath the bar, that they jumped on it and they said, is there anything we can do for you? And I was like, well, no, other than to keep it quiet, which unintentionally occurred. So thank you for that. We'll come back. It's an IHG property, and I've been an IHG Gold something member for a while. And the cable car is coming. And if you don't know what cable cars are in San Francisco, that sort of thing, just Google it. I'm not going to go into a big... At the end of the day, it's very cool, actually. And from the time that it was designed, it's an engineering marvel. By today's standards, it's actually quite antiquated, but it's also very effective. And it's not like they would install this now to be able to generate the kind of revenue they need from it anyway. So it's $7 each way. So we're going to take it, and Gracie and I don't know if you can tell, we're bundled up as if we were in Boston in February. It's very cold from our body's perspective. This is not Southeast Asia by any means. But yeah, and Gracie's hands are like, I could basically put her hands in a cup of water and it would freeze the water that we could then use to drink it. Anyway, it's all part of living the dream, right? Oh, and if you don't know, no, my arms didn't just get incredibly longer because of this cold. We actually are using one of the 3 selfie sticks that we bought over the course of the last 2 years when we needed selfie sticks. So we decided to actually take one with us because it makes it a lot easier to use when you take it with us. So here comes the car. What we're going to do is, I didn't tell you, we need to jump on as it cruises by. And I assume we just wave our arms in the air and this guy magically stops and we jump on and we give him money. So we shall see. Thank you, sir. Have an amazing day. So we made it. And we looked just like that. So this is pretty cool. So now we are at the ever touristy, basically Fisherman's Wharf. Embarcadero, Ghirardelli Square, whatever you want to call it. It's basically the water. So we're gonna go check out. Oh, you know what we've never seen? We've never seen Alcatraz. This one, another. Well, first of all, we've never seen the island, but secondly, we've never seen the movie The Rock, which is about the guys who like basically broke out of Alcatraz. Let me extend this selfie. And so here's the same thing, if you remember from the other side, where they come down to the end and then they turn it around and then they go back up the other way. So along the way, a couple of times, there was the ability to see the water, and so that's down there. And so this is where we are, and we're in San Francisco. So we'll do a obligatory selfie. So let me do this. Oh my God, there's a Starbucks.
Yeah.
Right, like there won't be, right? Love you, Starbucks. Anyway, so a cable car end was behind us, and now we're walking down, I believe, Bay Street. It ends at Taylor, and then we're going to head down to the water, basically. And so while you could argue that this is incredibly touristy, there's also a reason that it's touristy, right? Because, I mean, in the middle of some field in West Massachusetts, there's not a whole lot of tourist buses that show up because it's nice, but it's not interesting. Whereas this is actually quite interesting. And so it's been neat because I like to live in the sense that I am working and vacationing sort of at the same time. Live on vacation, right? So, you know, it's interesting, right? So there's this sign here for Fisherman's Wharf where you go left on Mason. But what's interesting is, you know, there's no signs for it back there. And you could argue that really the only people that are getting off the trolley are tourists, right? And the nice thing is the guy that's driving, I mean, obviously he's going to answer the exact same questions over and over again because people are interested in how the thing works, how old it is, whatever. And it's not like they give you guided tours while you're on it. So they answer a lot of the same questions, and they're quite gracious, considering they probably do it all day, every day. Now, there's several, it's interesting because not only was there like the driver guy in front, but two guys in back, but then there's also you know, people along the street, along the tracks, along the crosswalks. So, and I also, yeah. So you know, there's interesting. A couple things that I've noticed. One is that there's a lot more homeless here, and there's a lot more people honking their horns. So we're gonna go this way. All right. So we're gonna cross over here, and then we'll go down to Fisherman's Wharf, which, if you can see, is at the end of this street right here, Mason. And so. We'll head down there and we'll give you an idea of what it's like down there. There's a lot more building now. I haven't been here in, boy, 5-6 years, but obviously the real estate down here is very expensive, and so therefore, therefore things get built on it, which, you know, makes sense. So it's a pretty easy walk, and the nice thing is right now it's actually not that cold. Although, as I mentioned, I mean, look at her gloves, right? So we're bundled up, and I mean, regardless of how hot or cold it is out, I'm going to wear a scarf. And I think that she's sort of adopted that style too. So unless it's about 150 degrees, we're wearing scarves. Because we're living the dream, and if you're not living the dream,
you're doing it wrong.
Did you hear that? She even said it in Tagalog English.
What?
I'm just kidding. What is it, Tinglish?
Taglish.
Taglish, right, got it,
Tagalog
okay,
English.
yeah. Tagalog and English, right, cool. So there's also, along the way, as you might guess, there's the Cable Car Museum, and Ghirardelli Square is down here, meaning it is real estate that the Ghirardelli Chocolate Company sort of claims ownership to. It is not exceptional chocolate by any means. It's just chocolate, and but it's well known, and kind of like Toblerone. For some reason, Toblerone is sold in like almost every airport I've ever been. And so what's interesting is it told us how to get here, and then we're down here on the left, and then it says, oh yeah, well, but go back left to go to Fisherman's Wharf. We're gonna walk straight though. You know, it's interesting, I was reading, as I do most mornings, I read one of two newspapers. I read the Wall Street Journal, and I read the China News, and China Daily News. And I like the China Daily News actually because I feel like I've accomplished more because it's a much smaller paper. So I can say, yes, I've actually read it. So anyway, I was reading that this morning, and one of the things that they were talking about is how the United States, while we buy more stuff from China than they buy from us, they buy more services from us than they sell us. And one of the things they talked about was, of course, vacationing. Here was an interesting statistic. The average person that comes to the United States from China, the average Chinese person, spends $13,000 a year on vacationing in China. That's pretty amazing, actually. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But so then Beach Road. Oh, look at that. Green lights and open crosswalks. That's the story of our lives today. See, so then, streetcar. Every time I see that, yes, I say in my mind, streetcar named Desire, which of course is totally irrelevant, but nonetheless, that's the words that are ending up in my mind. So I can't remember how you pronounce that sourdough bread factory. It's Lord something. But you'll recognize the logo when I show it to you, I'm sure, if you are a person of U.S. or U.S. knowledge. It's pretty awesome music, actually, for a 7-Eleven. It's pretty cool. We should go there? Go there? Okay, absolutely. We can go anywhere you want. So what's interesting is I remember being in Barcelona, and of course, like, actually not, you know, there's probably, I don't know, 100 cities in the whole world, and they're, you know, these are very common, the double-decker buses with the open top. Bowden, I would pronounce it, Bowden sourdough bread. That may be incorrect, but that's how I'm pronouncing it for today. And these restaurants, one of which we will absolutely have dinner at, will be overpriced, but that's sort of how it works on vacation. Although I can tell you that McDonald's right there, even though it's down in San Francisco, no way is it as expensive as the McDonald's in the airport. Streetcars are pretty cool, right? I mean, they are fairly romantic. I do like the fact that they run on electricity too. That's awesome. So we're gonna go check out the wharf here, and of course part of that is looking at the view of Alcatraz, and away we go. And the neat thing actually about being here today, it's Wednesday in April, and it's cold and it's cloudy, is that it's not very busy. And here's a tip too. If you want to catch the trolleys and you want to wait in a silly line, don't catch it at the very end, because that's where most tourists show up and they buy a ticket thinking that they potentially can't buy a ticket on the trolley. Sorry, on the cable car. It's $7 each way, I think I mentioned, but they take cash and they also have change. And they provide the ability for you to get on even if you're like 1 or 2 stops from the origin, because they do not fill the entire cable car up to capacity at either end, knowing that there will be people along the way that will get on. And so from our hotel, as I may have shown you, we got on right away. And so that was pretty neat. So, actually, what time is it? It's about 9:30, 10 o'clock. You know, we might be able to actually take a tour of Alcatraz, which is the prison out there. It's almost 10 o'clock. So we actually might be able to go out to it's kind of funny, right? How like these prisons, like the most dangerous prison kind of thing that holds all these horrible people, is now a tourist attraction. And there was like something romantic about the fact that like guys who murdered people broke out and got away with it. It's kind of interesting, right? But anyway, so this is Fisherman's Wharf, in San Francisco. And that is Alcatraz, way out there.